Jameis Winston starting again for the New York Giants. Adam Ottavino completely torches the New York Mets. I'll do it for you, Brian Cashman, asleep on the job as the general manager of the New York Yankees. And don't look now. The New York Islanders, third in the Metropolitan Division. Welcome to another edition of the NY Sports Index. That is Jamie Eisner. I am Chris Schubert, talking all things New York sports. Jamie, we made it to a Friday. There's a lot going on, a lot to be excited about. How are you, my friend?
Doing well. Looking forward to an exciting weekend, the final weekend before American Thanksgiving. And I say that because that'll be a tease for what we talk about when we get to the hockey portion later in the show. But I'm excited, a little bummed that Jackson Dart didn't clear concussion protocol, but it's always fun to watch Jameis Winston play football in any capacity. So I'm excited to see him this weekend, although I think both of our teams are probably going to get blown out in their respective competitions this Sunday. But it's a lot to talk about. The Yankees fans are up in arms for a lot of different reasons we'll talk about. Obviously, some Mets fans have some comments and thoughts about Adam Ottavino. So I'm ready just to get into it all here today.
Yeah, totally forgot to mention the Jets in the intro because I've just assumed it as a loss against the Baltimore Ravens. I think they're 13.5-point road underdogs against Baltimore, so it's not going well. Yeah,
it's in the Giants are about the same. I think they're 13-point underdogs in the road against Detroit. So it's Vegas is not excited about either one of our teams this weekend.
Well, I want to start with the Giants because I think the most surprising news is it appeared from everything that was being said and done. Jackson Dart was going to be cleared and ready to go for this game on Sunday, and seemingly out of nowhere, Mike Kafka told the media on Friday that Dart is not going to clear concussion protocol, and it will be Jameis Winston that will go again. Now, in the grand scheme of this season, it doesn't matter, but certainly not great that Jackson Dart is going to miss this another week and another chance to get valuable reps. And there is kind of a question of what happened here, because all week long, it felt like he was going to make this start, and it's concussions and they're different for everybody, and this stuff happens, but it does feel weird that immediately out of nowhere he's not starting on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, this is not too atypical for head injuries, particularly for concussions, because concussion symptoms can pop back up. They can go away, they can be cleared earlier in the week, and then they can pop back up, whether that's dizziness, sensitivity to light, things of that nature. And we have seen this happen before with other players where it looks like they're heading in the right direction, and then they have a symptom pop back up. And then once you have a reintegration of a concussion symptom, you have to start the protocol from the very beginning again, which at this point, this being happening late in the week, means he's not going to play this week. So obviously there's always a little concern that you have a lingering issue, whether or not it lingers into next week or beyond. But I mean, to me, this isn't like a panic mode and they're like, oh my God, something crazy must have happened. This is more of it's kind of unfortunate that it looked like he was going to kind of be past this, experience another symptom, which is what I'm assuming happened based on just the timeline of when these injuries have occurred in the past and being a head injury here. Obviously, there's going to be the entire conversation that surrounds head injuries in the NFL in general and Jackson Dart's playing style in general. But from me, my point of view here, more time to rest is never a bad thing, especially when you're dealing with a brain injury and the fact that the Giants aren't playing for anything. Sure, you'd like him to get the reps, but at this point, there's really no need to rush anybody back from a concussion, but there's really no need to rush Jackson Dart back in this situation. Anyway, let's have him get a little bit healthier, but yeah, it's unfortunate. I hopefully, if these conditions linger into next week and beyond, then I will be a little bit concerned that this is going to be, I know nobody likes the term mild or severe or moderate concussion. I understand that. But there's a difference between what we consider a quote unquote regular concussion and a severe concussion. There is a medical difference. I have seen players have very different responses and different types of careers afterwards. So if this lingers multiple weeks and it becomes a chronic issue, then yes, we have a major problem. If not, it's not the end of the world from him missing another week. It does not do him any harm to miss another week in this case, and it probably would do him a little bit of good.
And that means we get more Jameis against a Detroit team that's going to be very angry this weekend. And this points. The total's in the 50s, and I love the over because the Giants' defense isn't very good. Jameis is going to turn the ball over. The Lions can score even without Sam Laporta. Points, I think, are on the menu this weekend.
Yeah, and the Lions are not a team that is afraid of running up the score either if they're given that opportunity.
No,
So,
yeah.
they might take that opportunity this week. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's unfortunate, but it's probably a good thing that Jackson doesn't have to worry about Aiden Hutchinson bearing down on him a bunch of times in this game. But yeah, I mean, there's not really a lot to analyze here. The moment that another symptom pops up, you got to shut him down for the rest of the week. Restart the protocol, and look, Jameis Winston is going to be fun to watch. And at this point, I mean, if you're tuning in the Giants at this point, you're just tuning in just to see what's going to happen. I know we want to tune in to see what the young quarterback's going to do, but the entertainment value of watching Jameis Winston is always really exciting. And who knows? This maybe it's a competitive game. We've seen better teams than the Lions lose this year or play really close games to teams that they shouldn't have this year. You saw, I know they were at home, but you already saw an upset once this week on Thursday Night Football. So you never know, but it's probably not going to go well for either one of our teams, but at least Jameis is going to go down in a blaze of glory.
I can't say the same for Tyrod Taylor and the New York Jets because I don't know if
Tyrod revenge game.
I don't. What's the question? What's the statute of limitations on a revenge game? How long can you go? Because they drafted him 3 decades ago. So
it feels like it, doesn't it?
I mean, the other day, maybe 2 weeks ago, I pulled up Tyrod Taylor's career progression, and they were just parts of it. I was like, I forgot he was there. I forgot about that.
I remember the Buffalo days. I'm just trying to remember when did he what year was he drafted? I'm looking at it right now.
2000 and
I have it. I want to see if you can guess it.
2010?
Close. 2011.
2011.
15 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
Honestly, I know he's been around for forever, but I probably wouldn't have guessed that he's 15 years into the league. That's crazy.
Yeah. So he's going to go up against his old team that drafted him in Baltimore. And look, for the Jets, this is a quarterback move. And by the way, they made the wrong decision because Justin Fields will be QB2 on Sunday because we can't do anything correctly. But this is what they think, and I agree, is the best chance for them to evaluate the young players that they have. And so for me, this is all about want to see how Adonai Mitchell responds to the up and down night that he had on Thursday night. I want to see how much more involved they can get John Mechie. I want to see if Mason Taylor can be a featured part of the offense. And the one good thing about Tyrod is he is not going to be afraid to give these guys the ball. And it feels like he is going to force it in there, even if it means throwing a turnover-worthy ball, because what does this team have to lose? And for Baltimore, they're playing for everything. I mean, they can go from 1-5 to being in first place in the division by the end of the weekend if results go their way. So they have everything to play for. The Jets are just in evaluation mode. That's all that matters. And so for me, if I end the day on Sunday feeling like, hey, Adonai Mitchell had a good game. Hey, John Mechie had a good game. Hey, Mason Taylor had a good game. The defense showed some promise, and they lost by a couple scores, I'm not going to be that broken up about it.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this with the Jets for a couple of weeks now, and they're obviously in a similar situation to the Giants. But yeah, you're just in evaluation mode. You just want to see how these young pieces can work. You want to see who is a piece of the long-term future, who is maybe a short-term future piece, and who's expendable. And that's really all you're looking for on both sides of the ball right now. We explained on our last show why Tyrod Taylor gives them a better shot at that right now than Justin Fields, even if we were a little surprised that maybe Brady Cook did get an elevation to that number 2 spot here this week. But yeah, I mean, this is a game that you said the Ravens absolutely need right now. Obviously, they've given up all of their slack for the season early in the year when they went on that run. And now Pittsburgh's come back down to earth. Cincinnati's not really winning. Browns never win, although we're going to see Joe Burrow back for Cincinnati this weekend. I just think it's too little I should say we're going to. I anticipate we will. They technically have him listed as questionable. They have not named him the starter yet, but I would be surprised if we don't see Joe Burrow this weekend. But this division is there for the taking for the Ravens, but they really can't afford too many more slip-ups. At this point, it's probably you maybe get 1 or 2 more losses max over the course of the season for Baltimore if you want to win the division and make the playoffs. So this is a game that they have to win. This is a game they should win. They are the more talented team. They are the better team. They have the team that has more to play for. But I just want to see the Jets be competitive reasonably competitive. Like, they don't want you to go out there and lose 42-6.
It can't be the Buffalo game.
Yeah,
from earlier on in the year.
That's a great example. Can't be the Buffalo game.
It can't be the Buffalo game where you were never in it, right? It can't be the start of the Tampa game, right? It can't the first half of the Dallas game, right? It can't look like that. It needs to look more, although the offense wasn't really great, it needs to look more like the Denver game.
Yeah, you just need to be involved. Like, are the not Denver Broncos, are the Baltimore Ravens, do they care about the game in the fourth quarter? I think that's the thing. Like, do they care about the game in the fourth quarter?
Yeah,
which means 17. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not asking the Jets to, make this a 3-point game or anything, but is this a reasonable game? Is this a 17 or 20-point game, or is this a 30-point game? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we'll see what this turns into.
And is it are they going in the locker room at halftime down 28-3? Like, if that's the case,
and at that point you're just like, unless
Great,
you're Texas A&M, you're pretty much screwed.
Or the Patriots in the Super Bowl, 28-3.
That is true. That they very famously, from what I understand, came back from a 28-3 deficit. But good thing the Falcons have been perfectly fine since then.
It's perfectly fine.
It's gone great for that franchise. Not a single issue.
No, not a single issue whatsoever. Which of our baseball teams do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about mine first, because I think it's a little bit more mainstream right now, and I think obviously this is the yearly, for charity that Brian Cashman sleeps outdoors to raise awareness and
yes,
money.
very good thing that he does. Very good, very great for the community service.
But obviously it becomes a meme every year. And he does it.
Jamie, it's not a meme. It's a meme.
A meme. At least he didn't say Mimi. Mimi would have been worse. I feel like when
somebody
people say
said that.
Mimi,
right?
Yeah. Because I feel like when you say Mimi, it's like the worst potential chance. Like, you're like, how far removed are you from the culture? And I feel like Mimi's worse than Mem.
No, yeah, Mem's not great, but it's
not good.
It's better than Mimi, because Mimi is, people call their grandmother Mimi. Like, that's not great, but yes.
People are very mad about the Trent Grisham stuff still.
Still?
Yeah, and
should we play the? No, I don't have it. I don't have it.
You don't have the WFAN
I wish I did.
Clip right
WFAN
away.
call. No.
Just imagine any WFAN clip possible, and just in your mind, just imagine what would be like if the Onion were to make a WFAN.
Yes.
Just imagine that. It's just about Trent Grisham and Brian Cashman. I anticipated there'd be some anger. And we talked about it because when we discussed it, I know the show went up a little bit later, but we discussed it like 15 minutes after he accepted the offer. So
correct.
I obviously didn't get a chance to see anybody else's reaction. And I thought we had a pretty cogent and calm, reasonable, eloquent even reaction to it. And that was, we're in the minority. Because it seems like there's some people have some big feelings, as the kids say, about what happened here.
Well, I think most of the feelings, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but my guess is that most fans feel that because Trent Grisham accepted the qualifying offer, that it's going to stop the Yankees from pursuing big money targets elsewhere. And while I get that fear on the surface, it's an unsubstantiated. I don't even know what word I'm trying to use.
Unsubstantiated?
That's the word. Yes,
that's the word.
Claim.
Use your words.
I've been doing a lot of talking today. I've run out of.
You only talk for a living, my friend.
Right. I only talk for a living. This is like hour number 6 of doing content today. It's one of those claims. I'm not even going to try to say the word because I'm going to butcher it again.
Yeah.
That until we get to the end of the offseason and Cody Bellinger signs elsewhere and Kyle Tucker signs elsewhere and they don't sign Pete Alonso or they don't sign Edwin Diaz or whatever dream player that Yankees fans want to get this offseason, until that player is actually someplace else, it's an I can do it again.
Unsubstantiated.
Unsubstantiated.
I've had that. There's I think it's compartmentalized. Like, if I don't say it really fast.
Well, that's what I was trying to do.
No, I know. It just
unsubstantiated.
But
there
you're
it
thinking
is.
There you go. But you're thinking about it, so now you're going to trip over it. Look, I understand. I will kind of repeat some of the points, but I've taken it into perspective. One, I think people are saying that it was ridiculous that he even offered him a qualifying offer. I don't agree with that.
That's stupid.
Although I do not anticipate, as anybody did, that they anticipated that he was going to take it. But they were absolutely should have. I am also, again, I will remind you, very surprised that Trent Grisham did not try to test the market this offseason. Very surprised.
Mhm.
And I think he would have gotten more money than that if he, in terms of AAV even, than that if he were probably on a 2 or 3 year deal. But I mean, the pending lockout kind of complicates how long some of these deals might be. But I am surprised he took that deal. Does it throw a wrench in the Yankees' plans? Potentially. I don't think it has yet. Like I said, and it's also, this is baseball. You can trade anybody. And like at the end of the day, if they have to eat 10 million and trade him and get a prospect back or whatever it might be, they can do it. They can find a suitor for him if they need to move some of that money at the end of the day. And I don't think that it's going to, and Brian Cashman said it as much, and I actually believe him here, that it doesn't change their offseason plans. They've checked in on Tucker. They're actively in the Cody Bellinger sweepstakes, and according to everybody, the favorite still for Cody Bellinger. They also might be in a situation where Jason Dominguez might get traded. And you might need both of those guys. You might need Grisham and Cody Bellinger in your lineup because you're trading Jason Dominguez and company for Tariq Skubal, for example.
Well, and that's why it's unfair to criticize before we've seen the entire plan get put together. If they miss on all these guys and you're left with Grisham and Dominguez in the outfield, and they haven't traded for Tariq Skubal, and they didn't bring back Bellinger, and they didn't get Kyle Tucker, then I think you're well within your rights to be angry at the way they approach the offseason. But I just don't think this is going to stop them from making the moves that they want to make.
The other thing is there's now another name that's out there that the Yankees need to consider and could involve trading a young outfielder, Corey Seager. And
that seemingly came out of nowhere.
I know, and I know there's some issues with the amount of games Corey Seager plays, but when he plays, he's an elite baseball player still at this stage of his career. And we can't ignore, at least I hope we can't ignore, the season Anthony Volpe just had. And I think you're putting yourself in a situation where, again, that's just another, I'm not saying they're going to go out and get him, but I'm saying that's another name that if you need to go out and acquire a player like Corey Seager, maybe a guy like Jason Dominguez is somebody that goes back in a deal like that. And then all of a sudden you do need Trent Grisham to play every day for you, even if you do bring back Cody Bellinger. So like, to me, to you, like you said, it's unfounded, unsubstantiated.
Unfounded. I would have been able to land that.
You would have been able to do
better.
that one.
That would have been great.
It's unfounded right now because I don't think it's a good excuse. If Cashman comes back,
not currently,
yeah. If Cashman comes back in 2 months and says, "Oh, you couldn't do anything because Trent Grisham accepted the offer," then I'm going to push back on this because I'm going to push back because they can make this difference. But right now, they can. The whole offseason is still open now. Again, the concern at the end of the day too is still, even with if they bring in a guy like Kyle Tucker, I still don't know who's playing center field, with or without Trent Grisham. So you know what I mean? Like, they don't have a center fielder on their team right now, aside from Trent Grisham. So, I mean, they have to kind of figure that situation out if they don't bring back Bellinger. Whether they bring in Seager, whether they bring in Tucker, will still not have a center fielder. So maybe in their mind that will allow them to bring in a guy like that, and they'll figure it out. Like, oh, we can bring in Tucker, we could stick him in left field, we can play Grisham in center, and we move Dominguez. And you know what I mean? Like, there are ways this can be beneficial to New York. There are ways this could be detrimental to New York. But right now, the offseason is still wide open for them. Yeah. And I think any notion that this is going to somehow ruin their offseason and Cashman's a moron for this and he should have known and they're screwed, there's no plan, that's ridiculous. It's unfounded.
Again, would have been such a better word choice by me than unsubstantiated. That would have been tough. I also find the comic relief in the idea that after all this time that they could just trade for Corey Seager to replace Anthony Volpe when the reason why they didn't sign Corey Seager was because of Anthony Volpe? Like,
time is a flat circle, my friend.
Yeah, there's a full circle moment there that would be kind of chef's kiss for it to happen. If they ended up making that move when they could have just signed him a couple of years ago and not traded the prospects for nothing.
But but I said there's so much out there. Like, again, would I be shocked if Corey Seager starts for Texas next year? No. Would I be shocked if Tariq Skubal starts for Detroit next year? No. Like, these guys are not like guaranteed to move, but they could, one or the other.
And this is the time of year.
There's so many people. Like, I think you called it last show. It's a puzzle. The offseason is a puzzle. And right now, there are a lot of open pieces on the market that change everything. One of these dominoes changes everything. Like, the Yankees go out and get Seager. The Yankees go out and get Skubal. It changes the entire rest of your offseason plans.
Yeah, I think the way I would describe it, to continue to use the puzzle analogy, is you've dumped the puzzle out and you have all the pieces. All the pieces are still there. This isn't, 3 months from now when maybe you're trying to put the puzzle together and you're missing 15 pieces because you waited too long, or you didn't make a move, or then it's a problem. Then it's harder to put the puzzle together, but you're missing a piece in this corner and it doesn't look right. Yeah. Right now you have all the pieces to the puzzle. It's okay. Like, it's they have not made a mistake yet. Now, could they let Trent Grisham's decision become a mistake? Sure. But we're not there yet. They haven't yet. Right. And I think you are punishing them for your, how about this, preconceived, that word I can land, your preconceived notions of Brian Cashman, some of which are well-grounded and fair, others that are, unfounded. I'll use your word. Like, some of it's fair criticism, but some of it's not. And I think this is one of those times where you're allowing your bias of your feelings of Cashman to influence every decision that he makes.
I have no issues with you saying I'm a little concerned. Because when I saw it, I was like, not what I thought was going to happen. Like, this is going to necessitate something happening. But the freak out to me is crazy. Like, this is not a freak out scenario.
Sorry, I'm looking down at social media because we have picked an interesting time to record because everybody's agreeing to contracts with their guys ahead of the non-tender deadline tonight. So things are just happening. Right. So
anything?
No, I told you Jonathan India before the show. I think Tyrone Taylor, this is a Mets-related thing, agreed to a deal with the Mets on $3.8 million for arbitration for 2026. So we can use that as a segue.
My feed is just completely flooded right now with NFL Friday injury reports. So if anything that you have baseball-wise, please share.
Yeah, I have that, and not to get political, but the New York City mayor was doing something. Oh, yeah. So that's in my timeline as well today on a Friday. We can use the Tyrone Taylor news to pivot to the Mets because they have been making news, and not in the good way, because Adam Ottavino on his baseball YouTube account, which if you're unfamiliar with baseball and coffee, highly recommend. I think it is a fascinating deep dive into baseball in general, but pitching more detailed from somebody who did it at the highest of levels, and it's great to watch him. And he'll throw on a start from somebody and break down pitch by pitch and look at the numbers and tell you why it matters, and he's just great. And I said this on another pod that I do, but I'm not surprised that he was a part of the process to potentially get the baseball operations job in Colorado. He's a very smart baseball mind. But he had some not so nice things to say about Carlos Mendoza and the New York Mets and David Stearns and the way that they handled their pitchers, and went a little scorched earth. And
I don't think he's signing back there ever again.
No, and I'll tell you, it's a bit of a mixed bag for me because on the surface, I think it's easy to say that it sounds like somebody who is disgruntled. Sour grapes. It sounds like that. But when you dive into the actual criticism, when you look at the words that Adam Ottavino used and the words that he said, he's not entirely wrong.
Yeah. Before you read those words, I think there's something that it was probably Gandhi that said this. I don't know who said this, but I'm gonna attribute it to Gandhi.
Okay.
There's your story. There's my story, and then there's the truth, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the case that you're trying to say. Of like, yes, there may be some sour grapes there. That might be the motivation for speaking that he's speaking, and I'm sure the Mets will say he's wrong on all accounts, and the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle.
Quote. And then there's this other issue, and this is something that really upsets me deep in my soul because, man, I've talked with every single one of these guys about having to take control over their own career because the team is not going to keep them healthy. They need to find a way to keep themselves healthy. McGill goes down, Garrett goes down, Kranick goes down, Deadnell Nunez goes down, Danny Young goes down, all Tommy Johns, not to mention Drew Smith. Rayleigh had a Tommy John. It's just too many injuries. So they have to figure out something, whether it's their protocols, whether it's the way Carlos uses these dudes so haphazardly, whether they even care about keeping the guys healthy or not, but they need to be better than this. This is embarrassing. This is actually pathetic. Like pathetic. I would never let this happen if I was on the team last year. At least half of these guys wouldn't have blown out. I would have protected these dudes myself. I would have had to jump in front of them myself. Unfortunately, there was nobody willing to stand up and talk to Carlos this year. It was just me, I guess. So a little bit of an issue there, end quote. Now, he goes on. I'm just going to cut it off there. But yeah, I mean, through Carlos Mendoza directly under the bus, saying that he doesn't utilize these guys properly, question whether or not the Mets as an organization even care. And while I do think there is some criticism that is fair about the way the Mets construct their bullpen, the way they utilize their bullpen, I don't think the Mets, Jamie, you follow a different team, so maybe you can provide a different perspective on this. I don't view the way the Mets utilize their bullpen arms and think that they're doing something so counter to the rest of baseball and that they're getting guys hurt more so than any other team. Like the Dodgers the entire year didn't have their starting rotation. So to single out the Mets, I think it's because Adam was there and he knows these guys personally, but this isn't a Mets only problem that baseball has right now.
This is a really nuanced conversation and one that I feel I can lend some credibility to, but not a lot. And what I mean by that is I did a story when I worked for Major League Baseball all about Tommy John surgery. And I talked to a number of pitchers about Tommy Johns and trainers and whatnot. And there's some nuance here, and it's tough for an outsider like us to really, unless you're really tracking every element of what they're doing with their pitching, to really make an informed statement about whether the Mets are doing something dangerous, risky, more injury prone or not. There's a bad trend, by the way, like in football, when teams get injured, that people just put up a picture of the strength and conditioning coach and blame them. And I think that is the equally ridiculous take the other way. There is some thought, and I tend to believe it, but I am not a medical professional myself, nor do I play one on television or on this podcast. But there is some thought that there is more to arm injuries and maintaining arm health than simply the amount of pitches somebody throws, the amount of leverage in the high leverage innings somebody throws, and the appearances somebody makes. And that the bullets that are in the chamber, for lack of a better phrase, have an impact through every motion that they make. How many times they get up in the bullpen? How much rest do they get in between outings? Do they get up multiple times in a single game in the bullpen? And what impacts that? So without being in the Mets bullpen and without being there on off days and all the other stuff, I can't adequately tell you whether or not the Mets are doing something that is different, better, worse, etc., than the rest of the league. Obviously, we can look at the results of the injuries, and you can just numerically count guys, and you could say, well, this team's getting more hurt than the other team. Doesn't necessarily mean they're doing something right or wrong, etc. And also, every body is different, every arm is different, all those caveats. But I tend to give some credence to a bullpen guy like this because it's a veteran that has been in a number of organizations and can kind of understand those nuances, that knows that pitches that are thrown outside of the pitching mound still count. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of elements that go into that all the way back in February from when they report to off days, to days they don't get in, days they get up and don't get in, days they get up and do go in. So I would say that I would be willing to listen and investigate the thoughts that Adam Ottavino has on that, and to understand for fans that might not be counting anything else, to understand that there's a lot of conversation that goes into bullpen usage that has nothing to do with actual guys that get into games or not. It's bullpen usage between guys that are getting into games, and between games, and between innings, and how often guys get up, and whether or not there's some debate about whether a guy getting up in the bullpen should actually count as an appearance, not in terms of statistically, but in terms of body maintenance. and whether or not that we are completely disregarding that element, and whether or not guys getting up multiple times in a game actually might be more harmful to the arm than getting up once and then coming into the game. These are a lot of things that there is not an exact science on yet, and there's a lot of debate within pitchers, within organizations, within doctors, within trainers about these things. So there is more to the arm injury epidemic right now than meets the eye. I think there's some obvious issues that we all know. We know about spin rate. We know about the subluxation of the arm, the torque, the amount. I mean, there are a lot of things. There's so much more we know now than 10 years ago, than 20 years ago when it comes to these things, and why it's made Tommy John so prevalent in pitchers these days. It's not just velocity. For a while, people thought it was just the velocity aspect of it, or it was just the curveball aspect of it, and it goes way deeper than that. But I guess I say all of that to say, without him naming the exact specifics that he feels were mismanaged, I can't say that he's right or that he is wrong.
Yeah, and I think for a Mets team that had the failure that they did last year, I think everything should be up for discussion. I think everything should be under a microscope as part of the self-reflection. And so if part of that is evaluating how they construct a bullpen, how they utilize the bullpen, I mean, the other part of it too, Jamie, is like Carlos Mendoza was dealt a very awkward hand throughout the year with his starters' inability to give him length. And it's not like he can go to the umpire and say, we forfeit, we give up, like we don't want to play anymore. Like he's got to use the guys that are available to him that given night. And so it inflated some of the numbers. But, Tyler McGill got hurt. Did the Mets mismanage that, or did he just get hurt pitching? Like, I just don't know. I don't know if you can directly point to, like, Reed Garrett. The thing you would point to is they used Reed Garrett a lot over 2 seasons. Okay, but Tyler McGill worked a starter's workload. He didn't pitch as a starter every 3 days. They didn't do something revolutionary where, we're actually going to throw our starters every 3 days instead of every 5 or 6 days. Like, the Mets didn't do something completely counter to the way everything else in baseball is working right now. It just so happens that and there's also some luck involved with this too.
Oh, absolutely. That's a big part of this.
So that's
and quite frankly, stuff that sorry, Chris, I don't mean to cut you off, but quite frankly, what happened before they got into the organization?
Right.
How much damage was done in high school and or college, depending on the prospect. You know what I mean? It's the thing is I would like Adam Ottavino to explain specifically, because it sounds like he's alluding to something that maybe in his mind is obvious, but it maybe is not obvious to everybody else, because there are, you know what I mean? Like there's more to mismanaging than that. The other part of this that's tough when it comes to baseball is, and if we're going to make a cross-sport analogy for a moment, let's compare this to football. If you're losing, what do teams do when they're typically losing in football? They throw the ball. If you make your quarterback throw 50 times instead of 40 times, but you're trying to win the game, nobody's going to criticize you. But in baseball, there's another layer of, because of the pitching injuries and because of the stuff that we've learned, that sometimes there's a conflict between doing what's best for the team and doing what's best, potentially, hypothetically, for a player's health. And that's another element that just throwing that out there as well as a counter argument, that's another method that managers have to equate for as well.
And the other part of it, the other thing too that really is piggybacking off of your point, like he used a phrase like Carlos using these guys haphazardly. Well, statistically, over the last 2 years, the Mets are 21st in the percentage of times they've used a starter on back-to-back, or a reliever on back-to-back days.
Yeah.
So it's like they're not the most egregious at this. So to me, like, are there some criticisms that I think are fair,
unsubstantiated?
I'm not doing this again. That are fair. The pause was I was trying to find a different word. That are fair and deserve to be evaluated by the team. I do think Carlos hasn't been great at leaving starters in too long, taking starters out too early, which relievers he uses in certain moments. I do think he needs to get better at that. He's entering his 3rd year as a manager. This isn't like Joe Girardi doing this. This isn't Buck Showalter doing this. And again, like, I hate to be this guy, but I do wonder if there's a sour grapes element of this. Like the role he became the punching bag in 24 for the Mets, that when things got out of hand and they were losing badly, like they threw him in there to mop some stuff up. So I can't take that part out of the equation. It's hard for me to remove that. I think his criticism is fair, but I do worry about there being some type of ulterior motive here.
Yeah, I would say there's enough here to warrant further investigation, but he didn't provide enough specifics for me to take his side, if that makes sense. I'm intrigued. I'm interested to hear more, but I like you said, Chris, from the stat you backed it up, makes me think that he might be referring to stuff that we do not see, which is there's a lot of that, especially when it comes to pitching.
And I wish he would explain more. I wish he would.
So
yeah.
I'm willing to hear him out further, but I can't just accept that exactly what he has given us so far is, oh, that's a smoking gun.
It's the smoking gun that makes the Mets out to be the bad guy and that nobody else in baseball is doing what they're doing. Right? Like, that's the tone that I took from it, that like Carlos Mendoza has no idea what he's doing and the Mets are the worst organization in the sport at this. Now, he didn't outright say that, but that was the tone that he carried. That was the tone in the delivery of what he said. Two other New York teams to talk about before we get out of here. The New York Knicks got Jalen Brunson back, picked up an okay win against the Dallas Mavericks, got out of Dodge thanks to a review against Dallas. They've got some NBA Cup games coming up next week. They have the Magic over the weekend in Orlando. Good for Jalen Brunson to be back and having not missed a ton of time away from the team with that injury.
Yeah, and sorry, I got sent the fantasy football trade mid-show that I had to accept. But
you accepted the trade?
Yeah, because it's one of those. It's a league I'm in that I took over a team. It's a dynasty one, so I'm trading guys that I really can't keep anymore. Like I just traded Lamar, but like I can't keep anymore for draft picks.
Why can't you keep Lamar?
Well, because this league has been around for a while, so it's one of those ones where you get the original round, and then after a certain period of time, you have to franchise them a couple times.
Okay, I'm familiar
so like
with
now
these
he's
leagues.
past that. Yeah. So so this year was the last year he could be franchised, so he would have gone back into the pool no matter what, but somebody really needed him right now that's pushing for a playoff spot.
And your team's not any good, you stink.
No, my team is it's only one game back of a playoff spot, but it's just not
What
good
are we
enough.
doing? We're one game back of a playoff spot. Get in, roll the dice, get hot.
Yeah, but it's one game back and I'm like, what's my record in this league? It's not good. I'm 3-8.
What kind of league are you in that 3-8's one game back of a playoff spot?
Yeah, so let's see how many teams. Yeah, so it's one of those ones where we have like two teams that are 10-1, and then like two teams that are 8-3, and then it's like 5-6, 4-7, 4-7, 4-7. Then the whole bottom is 3-8. So it's like one of those ones where like, yeah, I'm a game back, but I'm not going to have the points or the tie. Like it's not going to happen. Losing this last week hurt. I lost a close one this last week. So, but yeah, Jalen Brunson being back again, I know we talked on the show that again, give him time. Ankles can be really troublesome.
2 games. It was all it was, 2 games.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised it was only 2
Me
games,
too.
to be perfectly honest with you. Maybe it's one of those ones where we just kind of panicked when we shouldn't have panicked. But look fine. I mean,
the more important story.
Glad he's back.
The more important story.
You've been waiting to talk about this. You've been waiting.
Third in the Metropolitan Division.
They are third in the Metropolitan Division.
Now they have a game. The other teams in front of them have a game in hand on them, so they're 2 points back of first, but it's really 4 points.
I mean, Pittsburgh might catch him too, but
easy.
That's not the point.
Relax with the Pittsburgh. Easy. That's not
2 points back with 2 games in hand, but that's
not what we're talking about. We're talking about a team that right now, less than a week from American Thanksgiving,
yes,
has a playoff spot. They've been great. I mean, great is the word I would use to describe the way that they play. They are right now playing like a playoff team.
Yeah, they're playing good. They're playing good hockey. They've
who's not playing good hockey, Jamie? You know who's playing some pretty just mediocre hockey?
The Sabres.
That would be the New York Rangers. 10-2.
Yeah, they've lost 3 in a row now. Heading into the show,
still only have the 1 home win on the season.
That's a whole different equation. They're doing the anti-Leafs thing, who can't win on the road. By the way, the Leafs, woof.
I was just gonna say, not the company you want to keep right now
on that team. But yeah, so look, I'm excited to see what they're a young team. They're playing with a lot of energy. It's exciting to see. I do think they're watching what we've watched so far. We're 20-ish games in the season. Teams are between like 19 and 22 games right now. So a quarter of the way through the season. They've been really impressive. Now, there is a little concern that there are, teams that I think the team I look at that's behind right now that I think will be a playoff team that's not in a spot right now is Florida. And they're dealing with some of their own issues on themselves. They are a point back, with one game in hand on the Washington Capitals, who currently have the final spot in the wild card. But I do think the Islanders are a playoff caliber team right now, the way that they're playing. If they can avoid injury, they're getting contributions throughout their lineup. They're playing good hockey. They've only lost 9 games this year, and 2 of them were in a shootout. You know what I mean? So like both of their loser points are shootout loser points, which again, I don't know. In terms of just value for a team, I'm not freaking out about that. Positive goal differential. They've been good on the road, which I really like to see if you're anybody but the Rangers, because they can't win a home game, but like being good at home and really good on the road, that's what you want to see. That's what you worry about for some of these teams is, okay, you're playing at home. It's nice. Good to your environment, your own bed, your own procedure. I mean, they're 8-4-1 on the road so far this year. They're consistently getting better. They've won 7 of their last 10 games. Like, I'm really excited to see what they've done this year, and
room for growth would be my like.
They're probably giving up a little too many goals still.
Well, yeah, Sorokin's middle of the road in terms of goaltender. Yeah. They have one of the worst power plays in the sport.
Yeah,
like it is abysmal. 14.3%. Only Calgary and Carolina are worse. So and oh, by the way, with that, they're still, I think, top 10. Let me do some math here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're 8th in goals scored per game. So despite having one of the worst power play units in the sport, they're still scoring goals. So if they can improve that unit, if they can get more out of Sorokin, and the ceiling is there with him, they could be even better than they are right now. And that to me is the encouraging part.
I agree. Like I said, at this point, I'm a believer. Again, I'm not picking them to win the cup or anything.
No, but this year was never supposed to be about getting to the postseason.
No, but I believe this can be that. Schaefer has been excellent, 15 points in 21 games this year.
Right pick. They made the right pick.
Those of you that don't, I don't think there's any crossover from my old Natty Hattie podcast that are still listening here, but those know how big of a fan I am of Bo Horvat back from his Vancouver days. I like what they're doing. I like that they're getting like what they have. How many guys on this team have at least a half point per game? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. 8 guys.
Looks like it.
Yeah. Anders Lee, JG Peugeot, Duran, Schaefer, Heineman, Palmieri, Barzal, and Horvat. Like, they're getting contributions from everybody. They're getting contributions from their rookie defenseman. I think Pulak's been pretty solid this year as well, and probably deserves a little bit more credit. They've got some guys that can win in different situations. I know they're maybe not going to be at the very top of the point sheet, but the speed of guys like Anthony Duclair and Jonathan Drouin can cause a lot of problems, and those guys can get hot in a short series, for example, and really cause some issues. So I think this is, I don't think they're going to necessarily finish top 3 in the Metro, but I do think this is a playoff team. I do think we're going to see them at least get the opportunity to play some playoff hockey. And it's an exciting environment, honestly, for those playoff games. Yeah. I know you're really excited. No, right now, the way they are winning, assuming they can get things a little bit more cleaned up in net,
for sure,
is sustainable. I'm a little concerned that I think they've allowed like the 5th most goals in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and so Sorokin is like literally middle of the pack in terms of goals against.
But you can survive with that. It's one of those things where I'd like to see that improve just a little bit more, because you are going to have teams like Boston, you are going to have teams like Florida that are going to keep pushing for some of those spots. So you are probably going to be in a dogfight as we get late into the season for those final wild card spots. But I think they're a legit playoff contender. Maybe they don't make it. We'll see what happens over the course of the season, but I think they're going to be contenders all the way, and it's going to make a really interesting decision for them when we come down to the trade deadline in a few months of kind of deciding, hey, do we just stay the course, or do we try to make a little mini run here with the young guys to make the playoffs? So I'm excited to kind of keep track of that. And right now, they're still more exciting than the other team in town.
And remember,
who had a little bit higher expectations coming into the year.
You get to American Thanksgiving in a playoff spot, that normally means you're going to finish.
80% chance or something, 78%. I have to run the numbers, but that was the old percentage of like more than 3/4 of teams that are in a playoff spot at American Thanksgiving finish the season in a playoff spot.
So good times to be an Islanders fan right now, and they play over the weekend. We're back on Monday to break down all the football from over the weekend. We'll see if our baseball teams do anything. Today is non-tender deadline day, so another potential date on the calendar that could give teams a clear picture of where their rosters are at, and so maybe we'll start to get some thawing of the ice here on the hot stove, and some moves will start to happen. Please rate, review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you are listening to us. If you want to watch the show, two places to do that: the NY Sports Index Spotify page and the NY Sports Index YouTube channel, where you can watch the show over there. We're back early next week to break down all the football and whatever happens in the baseball world. Until then, talk to you next time.